Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joe Imbriano. I'm reporting you from Fullerton, California in this overcast day. Rather strange weather, but what's even stranger, ladies and gentlemen, is what came in the mail yesterday. You know, I am at a loss for words as to where all this money is coming from. It seems like there's an endless supply of dollars available for printing costs and mailing costs for anybody that's associated with a public employee union. Whether it's the police or the fire, every day I'm coming home with something in my mailbox. It's literally stuffed to the brim. And then we have these assembly races and these Senate races. They're just going back and forth, and I'm seeing all these bizarre political groups paying for all these political messages that have no relevance to the actual group themselves. I mean, I'm seeing things on the California Psychiatric Association supporting Sharon Quirk Silva, and it has to do with education, but that's concerning when the Psychiatric Association wants to get involved with education more than they already are. But speaking of psychiatric associations, this is psychology, folks. This is the highest form. This is fear-based marketing. Jennifer Fitzgerald and Larry Bennett have taken it upon themselves to brand themselves with the fire department. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. They're correct about what they're saying. What they're saying on the front of this publication is the absolute truth. It says, in an emergency, every second counts. It truly does. In some cases, a couple of seconds is a matter of life and death. So they're all about protecting public safety and protecting our loved ones. And you want to know something, folks? So am I. You know, it talks about how the response times are actually a function of how many people are on the crew. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I remember years ago we were heading for a concert with my friends, and it didn't matter how many people were in my car because we were stuck in traffic. That is exactly what's going to happen if this woman and this man get elected, because their way is the highway. And when I say the highway, it's called high-rise way, ladies and gentlemen. They're developers. They're in the pockets of the developers. They are pushing for 10-story buildings. Miss Fitzgerald and Mr. Bennett are developers. They're developer people, folks. There's really no other kind way to say this. I would call them hacks, but I'm going to be a little gracious today. Folks, it doesn't matter how many firemen are on the stinking truck. If they're stuck in traffic from all of the cars and all the trucks idling at all these 50-year-old traffic lights because they've overbuilt this place, people are going to die. It doesn't matter how expensive the fire truck is. It doesn't matter how many people are on the fire truck. The only thing that matters is how quickly they can get there. So the only solution Ms. Fitzgerald and Mr. Bennett have is, of course, development. They will not speak out against what is planned for this city. They will not publicly speak out against the college town plan that they almost tried to ram through, which would have been about 4,000 units over on Nutwood and shutting the street down and a freeway off-ramp down. They're not talking about what the DCCSP tried to do to this city, which was to put 10-story buildings on hundreds of acres, adding upwards of 100,000 people. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. It's no accident that that almost got passed. Do you know who cheerled that on the Planning Commission? Her name is Miss Myann Johnson. She's a senior planner for SCAG, and she was appointed by Bruce Whitaker and Jennifer Fitzgerald. As a matter of fact, in a unanimous vote of the City Council. Now, let me tell you something about SCAG. They have plans to remake the entire state of California into a high-rise nightmare. They want you out of your automobile. They want you in high-rise housing. They want to have every aspect of your life in terms of transportation under their thumb. They want you on their conveyor belt mode, whether it be a trolley, a train, or a bus. They don't want you in your cars. They don't want you having a yard. They want you living in high-rise housing. Ladies and gentlemen, high-rise housing is a nightmare. High-rise housing causes traffic. High traffic areas cause crime and cause high incidence of car accidents. We know for a fact that if you're in a congested area and emergency vehicles have to get through, they can't. And the reason they can't is because of gridlock. And let me tell you something, folks. The only way to stop gridlock is to stop developing. The only way to get things under control is to get developers under control. And the only way to get the developers under control is to get the city council under the control of the residents again. And it's not. It's in the hands of the developers. Now let's talk about some of the events of today, folks. We had some endorsements get handed out by establishment operatives like the Register. And they're endorsing Bruce Whitaker. And they're endorsing Jennifer Fitzgerald. Now, that's a bit concerning because on the surface you'd think they have opposite voting records when in fact they actually work together. You see, Bruce Whitaker is actually the same as Jennifer Fitzgerald because If you do your homework on Bruce Whitaker, his idea of property rights is developers have a right to do what they want with their property. As a matter of fact, Bruce Whitaker has gone on record to a personal friend of mine, Mr. Levinson, and stated that if he had it his way, there would be no zoning. That means let people do what they want with their property. And read into that, that means build it as high as you want. Bruce Whitaker has had a key role in Fullerton's build-out, and let me explain that. Bruce Whitaker appointed My Ann Johnson to the Planning Commission. Bruce Whitaker knew full well who My Ann Johnson was. As a matter of fact, in the appointment process, he stated that she was one of his top picks. Out of 17 applicants, he chose a senior SCAG planner. SCAG is an unelected regional government, has a $500 billion budget to remake California into an Agenda 21 hellhole, ladies and gentlemen. And when I say an Agenda 21 hellhole, let me tell you what I mean by that. It's called high-rise housing, high-density housing, mass transit, no individual freedom to travel and come and go as you please. You're going to have to use their transit systems. You're going to have to get on these buses or these trains and stand next to people where you could smell their body odor, okay? That's a little too up and close for personal for me, folks. I like my car. I like my freedom. I like my grass. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to fight for you to keep yours too. And if you don't have one, then I hope you will someday, because that's really what it's all about, is having a place to live, having a place to throw your tomatoes down, and having a garage to put your car in and let your kids play basketball in. I am not into this mega city model that they're trying to ram through. Mr. Whitaker is. Mr. Whitaker's been in politics for years, folks. He knows what he's doing. He knew what he was doing that night. He knew who she was, he knew where she worked, and admitted that she was his favorite pick. What does that tell you? We have a city council member that appointed a SCAG planner to our planning commission. My Ann Johnson was the one who cheerled the DCCSP that almost passed the city council. It passed the planning commission in a unanimous vote. And do you know what Bruce Whitaker did about the DCCSP at the planning commission? He called off his appointee from voting against it. His name's Kevin Pendergraft. He didn't show up for the vote. There was a vote scheduled. They agreed to push the vote forward to the next meeting, and he purposely missed the meeting. When Mr. Whitaker was confronted about that, Mr. Whitaker was fine with Mr. Pendergraft missing that meeting. Bruce Whitaker greased the skids for the DCCSP to end up in the lap of the council, and it almost passed. Fortunately, it didn't. Let's talk about Ms. Fitzgerald. It's the same problem. She voted to put My Ann Johnson on the Planning Commission. As a matter of fact, she was the first one that night to bring her name up and to nominate her. She opened the proceedings and couldn't wait to get her appointed. Jennifer Fitzgerald appointed a SCAG planner to our Planning Commission. SCAG is an unelected regional government that has plans to turn this place into an Agenda 21 hellhole. That means high-rise, high-density housing. That means gridlock. That means an urban nightmare. That means crime, blight, congestion, pollution. All the things that come with a big city to our lovely town. We don't want that, folks. I don't want that, and I know you don't want that. We don't want Bruce Whitaker, and we don't want Jennifer Fitzgerald. That's why I'm running for city council, is to throw these people out. You need to open up your eyes and break your conditioning. You're being conned. These people are part of the establishment. Let me explain it to you. This is how it breaks down. Ed Royce, we all know Ed Royce. He's an institution, and for lack of a better term, he's actually an institutionalized problem, in my opinion. He's endorsing Jennifer Fitzgerald. He's endorsing Larry Bennett. The Register is endorsing Bruce Whitaker and Jennifer Fitzgerald. Robin Nordell is endorsing Larry Bennett and Bruce Whitaker. Do you see a little problem here? There's these Republican people who are telling you how to vote, and they're all connected at the hips, folks. Jennifer Fitzgerald is a vice president of Kurt Pringle and Associates. She got that position after she was elected to the city council. Bruce Whitaker appointed Jennifer Fitzgerald as mayor in a vote. He spoke out nothing against that. As a matter of fact, he handed her the baton. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Whitaker made sure Jennifer Fitzgerald ended up as the mayor for this ballot, so it would make her harder to undefeat. Bruce Whitaker's playing ball. We don't need people playing ball. We need people playing hardball for the taxpayers and the residents. They're going to wreck this town, folks. They're going to ruin this town. They're going to do it really quick. This is our last chance to save Fullerton, and I'm not kidding. That's why I'm going pedal to the metal, and I've got it going as far and fast as I can to wake people up. My signs come down as fast as they go up. I got people tearing my signs down. I got people libeling me and defaming me all over social media because the establishment is worried about me winning. And when I win, it's lights out meatball for this game. Fullerton is a bedroom community. It doesn't need any more apartment buildings. 95% of the United States is rural open space. Get in an airplane. There's plenty of land. We don't need to be putting 100,000 more people here, folks. The people that live here can't even afford to live here as it is. And if we keep bringing in more and more people and commoditize housing even more, it's going to push the prices up. Contrary to what you believe, folks, or been led to believe, high-density housing actually increases real estate values. But how is that good for anybody? How is an increased upward pressure on real estate values a good thing for the average person trying to get into the market and start a family? It's not. I'm here to tell you, folks, that we need to remove Jennifer Fitzgerald from the City Council. She has a built-in conflict of interest as the vice president of Kurt Pringle and Associates, which is a massive lobbying firm. He connects government contracts to taxpayer coffers and turns them into gigantic boondoggles and puts a ribbon on them. And he has put her into our city, and she's got backdoor access with all the developers, and they're chomping at the bit to ram stuff through. If they can pull this off and get this election gone down the way they want it, Fullerton's toast. Now, you may not care for my style, you may not care for the sharp tongue that I use sometimes, but folks, we're out of time. And there's no time for wine and roses and daisies, folks. We got to work on this together. You got to vote for me, you got to get me elected, and we got to clean house at City Hall. There's not enough time here to play politics as usual. As you can see right now, Jennifer Fitzgerald and Bruce Whitaker are inexorably linked together with their political connections. And at the end of the day, despite their voting records, they work behind the scenes together, and the establishment for the Fullerton Republican Party is working in lockstep to make sure that those two are reelected by running extra candidates to flood the deck to split the vote. That's a typical tactic that the Republican establishment uses. They will run no-shows at City Hall and put their stamps on them and use them to detract from the true reformers such as myself. That's exactly what's going on in this election. And I'm here to warn you, folks, the only way to stop this is a bullet vote for me. That means vote for me only. You have three choices, make me your only one. That counts as 3 votes. I don't have $100,000 to throw at this election. I have a family. I have 4 children. I have a job. I have a career. I have a wife. I don't have all this time to be prostituted out to the developers and the special interests. Now, unfortunately, these 2 candidates do. Mr. Whitaker, I believe, doesn't even have a regular job, folks. He's a career politician. I don't understand how anyone can't see through his motivation for being reelected. It is certainly not altruistic. It is a means of support for this gentleman. And that's a fact. Miss Fitzgerald apparently is working for nothing, on the other hand, not even drawing a salary. That's because she's probably making 6 or 7 figures working for Kurt Pringle. Do you realize how much money is on the table for the developers if they can throw this election their way? Do you realize what is standing between billions of dollars of development and Fullerton? You're looking at it right here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time for today. Joe Imbriano's not out of energy, and I'm going to keep fighting the good fight for all of you, because I will not let them turn Fullerton into an Agenda 21, high-density, high-rise hellhole. This is my community. This is your community. This is our community. It's not their community. They don't own it. They don't own us. And it's high time you start acting like they don't and show them the door on November 8th. Thank you.